Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us see and learn about one more interesting service, that is AWS Config. And we'll also see proof of concept of this AWS Config. So when do we use this config? We can use this config in order to govern, that is in order to monitor and govern your AWS resources. Sir, can you provide us some real-time examples? Yes. So let's say in your AWS account, you have multiple S3 buckets and you want to monitor which bucket does not have encryption, server side encryption with KMS, or versioning is not enabled to which bucket, like that you want to monitor, let's say for example. So for that, you can able to do that by using this config. If you manually do that, then it might takes you a lot of time. And if you want to do that at in company level, then it might be very difficult to you, right? Yes. So you can easily able to easily monitor it by using this AWS config. Not only that, you can even monitor other resources as well. So let us take one more example. That is, let's say I am creating multiple servers for my development environment, and I need to tag each and every server with some tag in order to identify that which resource or which server I am not tagged. You can use this config in order to monitor that. So for that, you can able to create a compliance rule and non-compliance rule, and you can able to identify that. So when do we use this config? In short, if I want rules to govern my resource tagging, and if you take particular example, S3 bucket encryption and versioning or EC2 instance related tagging, so those you can able to monitor. That is to monitor non-compliance resources, create AWS config rules. So in that way, you can able to use this AWS config. So in this lab, I want to show you hands-on on how to monitor these things like S3 bucket encryption is there or not, and S3 bucket versioning is there or not, and your EC2 instance related tagging is there or not. So these all things will monitor by creating AWS config rules. So let's get started. In order to monitor my S3 bucket related versioning as well as encryption, so first I want to create my one bucket, and after that I want to create a config rule and identify that whether the config rule can able to identify the bucket that is not having those as well. So for that, first I'm clicking on create bucket, and here I am providing bucket name like bucket 1, bucket 1, 2, 3, B. So like that, I provided some bucket name, or else you can provide the bucket name like config bucket -1, 2, -bucket. So like that, you provide some unique name. And now let's make, you can see I am not enabling this bucket versioning. Currently, it is in disabled state. I'm moving on in the same configuration. You can see under encryption also, I'm moving on with S3 server side encryption. Let's check whether this bucket is, let's check whether any bucket is not configured with server side encryption with KMS. So by using this, let's check whether any bucket is not encrypted. So since we are encrypting this bucket with this server side encryption by using S3, obviously this bucket is not encrypted with this, right? Yeah. So obviously it may raise complaint. For that, I need to create a config rule. So let's first create this bucket with this configuration, that is encryption type is SSE S3 and no versioning. You can see versioning is disabled. Now I'm creating this bucket. Now let's create a config rule. You can see this config bucket is created. Now I'm opening this AWS, or you can say just write config, and you can open this in one more new tab. So let's create a config rule in order to identify all the buckets which are not configured with KMS encryption. So for that, I'm just clicking on get started. You can select one click setup or get started, anything. It may reach us to the same place, or you can just click on setup. You can just click on this option, that is setup AWS config. You will be redirected to the same page. Now you need to provide the configurations, that is a recording a method. That is what strategy you want to follow. You want to provide a specific resource type, or you want to monitor continuously all records. Now for this demo, just I want to record only S3 service type related monitoring. So that's why I'm selecting this specific resource type. And here I'm selecting writing S3. So you can see AWS S3 bucket option is there. So that's why I selected this. And what is the frequency? Continuously I want to monitor. So that's why I selected this. IAM role. You want to create config service linked role, then select this. Or else you already have a role, then select this and choose the role. Currently I want to create. So that's why I'm selecting this. And what bucket you want to choose. So for that, you can create a bucket, or else you choose the bucket like a delivery method. So in which bucket you want to store your result, so that you can able to choose directly from here. That is in this bucket. Let's say I want to store my result. This is the AWS config bucket, right? That we just previously created. That bucket I am choosing. So in this bucket, I want to store my result. Now I'm just clicking on next. Here you need to select the managed rule. So what you want to do, basically by setting up this AWS config rule, what I'm expecting to do, I want to identify which bucket that is not configured with encryption, that is S3 type bucket, which bucket that is not configured with KMS encryption. So that's why I written S3. Now let's move on to the next page. Here, let's check whether do I got that type of encryption. You can see I got this. That is S3 default encryption by using KMS. This it will detect. So what it will detect, what this rule will detect, check if S3 bucket is encrypted with AWS KMS or not. The rule is non-compliant if S3 bucket is not encrypted with an AWS KMS key. Since in order to identify my buckets which are not encrypted with this KMS key, all those buckets will become non-compliant since I selected this rule. And now I'm just clicking on next. Yeah, that's it. So this is the recording method type, that is AWS resource I'm recording continuously. And this is the rule that I've selected, S3 default encryption with KMS. Now I'm just clicking on confirm. So now it is just creating. You can see service role is created. Might yeah, I think I need to provide some more details. So some prefix is not provided. Let's provide it as well. For this, let's edit this, or you can say let's go for rules tab, or let's go for settings tab. So here we got the error. This prefix is not provided. That's the error we got. So let's click on create bucket. I think no bucket name is getting here. Now let's start again creating, so that it will suggest us some bucket name. Specific resource I'm selecting, and S3 type, that is S3 bucket I'm selecting. Frequency, it will be continuously need to monitor. And I want to create I want to use the existing AWS config service rule that is just previously created. And you can see it will create me this bucket, right? Yeah. Now I'm just clicking on next. Here I'm selecting that S3 related rule. So that is present in this page. So I'm just selecting this. It will identify what are the buckets that are not configured with encryption key, that is KMS encryption key, and it will make those buckets as non-compliant. And now I'm just clicking on confirm so that yeah, you can see our S3 bucket got created. Now signing up, you can see successfully signed up to config. Yeah, you can see, so whatever the non-compliance rule that we created, those are visible under our rules. So this is the dashboard of it. Now you just open your rules. You can see this is the rule that we created previously. And you can open your dashboard. There you can able to, I think it might take a few seconds in order to monitor, and you will get the response here. So you just reload it. Just wait a minute. Now let's open our rules and let's open the rule. Now you can see here detected complaints. You can see 3 non-complaint resources are detected. I'm just opening it. So you can see these 3 buckets, these 3 S3 buckets are non-complaint. So what does it mean? That means your buckets are not configured with this AWS KMS encryption key. So that's why they are showing as non-complaint. In this way, you can able to identify what are the buckets which are not encrypted with KMS key. Let's remodify our bucket and let's check whether that is visible, that modification is visible or not. You can see this is the bucket that is automatically created. Now I'm just opening it. So these are here the logs are stored. You can see here all the logs related to that bucket are stored here. Now I'm just opening my bucket and just editing this. And I want to provide the encryption here. You can see I'm just clicking on edit. Now I'm providing this KMS encryption. So for this, I'm choosing with the AWS KMS key. That is this. And now I'm just clicking on save so that this key got saved. That is this encryption method got saved here. You can see this encryption method got saved here. Now let's detect again. You can see under actions. So you just open your rules that you want to detect and select that. So currently it is 3 non-compliant resources are there. Now I'm just clicking on reevaluate. Let's reevaluate and check it. I think it's not started action. So let's click on reevaluate. Or else let's open this and let's start with a reevaluation. An error. Okay. Already reevaluation got started. So let's wait for a minute so that this reevaluation happens. Now you can see it is evaluating. You can see it is evaluating. I'm just opening it. Yeah, I think we need to open all. Currently it is evaluation is in process, so that's why it is showing like this. Yeah, only one complaint is visible here. So one non-complaint is there. Let's open all, and you can see 2 are non-complaint and 1 is complaint. That means these 2 are not having my AWS KMS keys as the encryption. And since for this bucket we modified the result, right? That is, we modified the encryption, right? So that's why this becomes complaint. So in this way, you can able to create your non-compliance rules. You can see under this, you can able to create your non-compliance rules, and you can able to identify which bucket is encrypted or not, which bucket is not encrypted. Like that, you can able to identify your buckets easily. So let's say I want to monitor which bucket is versioned and which bucket is not versioned. So like that, I want to identify the bucket. So for that, I want to create one more rule. So for that, I'm just clicking on add rule. Now I'm just selecting the resource, that is what is the rule type. Since this also belongs to S3 type, I'm just clicking on S3 and just click on enter. And so let's move with options and let's identify, do we get, that is where that actually versioning option is there. If you see versioning currently I haven't identified, let's move a bit more. So bucket related, so this is related to logging. So let's move on further. Now, yeah, currently, so here you can see under AWS managed rule groups, you can identify that. This is a server side encryption enabled or not. You can see S3 bucket versioning is enabled or not. It will detect what, check whether versioning is enabled or not. So that will detect it by using this rule. So that's why I selected this. Now I'm just clicking on next. Then I'm just selecting the resource. You can see already the previous resource that is provided, that is available here. Now I'm just selecting all resources. Among them, I'm selecting a S3 bucket, and inside, yeah, for all S3 bucket, this rule need to be identified. This need to be detected. That's it. I'm just clicking on next. Now I'm just yeah, saving this rule in order to identify which buckets are not version. So currently it is detecting. So just refresh this. You can even open this. So in order to detect manually, last detection evaluation not available currently. In order to detect this, you just click on reevaluate under actions so that your reevaluation will be started. AWS config rule, that is S3 bucket versioning is enabled, is being reevaluating. So just now it is reevaluating. So let's reload and wait for a minute so that we get the results for this as well. Now you can see we get the result. So for this, yeah, since we are checking with versioning, so let's open it. Now you can able to identify. So for these three buckets, the versioning is not enabled. You can even modify the versioning of any bucket. So for this bucket, I'm modifying the versioning. Since for these three buckets, the versioning is not enabled. So that's why they are non-compliant. Now I want to edit this and enable versioning as well. And saving, you can see for this bucket, I enabled the versioning. Now I want to reevaluate this and identify which resources are non-compliant and which resources are compliant. So for that, I just clicked on it. Now you can see again a reevaluation is happening. So just wait for a moment so that you will get the result again. Or else, if you think it takes more time, then just remove the available results. I just selected, I want to evaluate this. So that's why I selected this and now I'm deleting the results. I'm deleting the previous results. Now you can reload it. Now you can see there is no detection is available for this right now. Now I'm just clicking on actions. I just selected this and I'm re-evaluating this again. So let's wait for a moment so that this re-evaluation will finish. You can see evaluation is in process, evaluating. After the evaluation is done, then you can able to identify the results. Now you can able to identify it detected two non-compliance resources. Let's open this. So what we are checking with versioning, right? Yeah. So let's open this. And you can see two are non-compliant. Let's see what is complaint one. By selecting all, let's see what is complaint one. This is the complaint. That is for this, since we enable the versioning, this becomes complaint, and these two are non-complaint because we didn't enabled versioning for these two. So in this way, you can able to monitor your resource related parameters from here globally by using this AWS config. Now let's say I want to create one more rule in order to for my EC2 instance related tags. So for that, I'm just clicking on rules. Now I'm just clicking on add rules. Here, I'm just I'm just moving on with the AWS manager rules. Since for EC2 instance, I'm creating this rule. I selected EC2 instance, or I want to check the tags of my EC2 instance. So that's why I written tags. You can see required tags. What this available manager rule group did is it will detect the required tags are not present or they're present or not present. So that it will detect. So that's why I selected this, and I'm clicking on next. Now, so for what resource you want to use this? I want to use this only for, I'm not expecting to use it for all resources. I want to use it for single resource, that is that to EC2 instance. EC2 instance. And yeah. So what tag you want to monitor? Let's say the tag key value name, I want to put like K1 as the key and value as V1. So only one key I am providing. For this demo, I am providing only one key value pair in order to monitor that. And I'm just removing all others. Now I'm just clicking on next. So I'm just clicking on save. So what does this do? This rule will identify the required tags, that is K1, V1. K1 key and V1 value, that tag is not available for any EC2 instance, that it will identify. I'm just reloading it. So last detection, there is no evaluation happened till now. Let's say I want to evaluate it immediately. So that's why under actions, I'm just re-evaluating it. Let's reload and wait for a moment. Yeah, you can see last evaluation happened. Now you can able to see all resources. I think the evaluation is not done. Yeah, let's select this and re-evaluate it. So before this, let's open our EC2 instance as well. Meanwhile, now you can see this rule is getting evaluating. So let's see the EC2 instances. You can see I have running EC2 instances, that is a web server. Now I just selected this. You can see under tags. So we do not have any tags like a K1, V1 pair. Now let's see whether this will detect or not. So not non-compliant, I want all. I think this need to reevaluate again. So that's why I'm selecting this and just removing the available results by clicking on delete. I'm just confirming this, and yeah, I'm just reevaluating it. This is a way where you can able to create tags, or you can able to identify the detective tags, that is, or you can able to detect the tags to your EC2 instances as well. So in this way, you can able to identify S3 bucket versioning, as well as you can able to monitor bucket encryption or any EC2 instance related tags. So like that, any resource related actions or items you can able to properties you can able to identify by using this AWS config. I hope this video and a hands-on lab will be useful to you in order to monitor your resources by using AWS config. Thanks for watching again. I hope this video is useful. If you feel this video is useful, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching again. See you back in the next video with another interesting topic. Until then, bye bye, guys.